Campaigners have launched legal action against an NHS puberty blockers trial after concerns that the treatment may cause irreversible harm.
Now, health officials faced immediate backlash after they approved the trial last month. They give plans for more than 200 gender-questioning children to have access to puberty blockers.
Well, campaigners have voiced concerns over the significant risks that this trial poses, including infertility issues, sexual dysfunction and other long-term health risks.
Well, joining us now is the Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McAnena. Fiona, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. There's been quite a stark reaction from a lot of campaigners on this issue. We've just listed some of the risks that this trial is said to pose. Why do you think the government are pushing ahead with approving this trial?
Well, the reason that the Health Secretary has given is that this is one of the recommendations of the CAS review. But there are many recommendations in that review. And I think most of us thought that this would be an absolute last resort. You know, already something like 2,000 children have had their puberty blocked, and almost all of them, as far as we know, have gone on to cross-sex hormones. They're all the children who went through the gender clinic at the Tavistock, which the CAS review recommended should be closed down, and it has been closed down. So there's a huge population of young people, young adults now, who've already been through this treatment. They were supposed to be followed up, and their outcomes were supposed to be studied before there would be any new trial. That hasn't happened.
So that's the point, isn't it, for this trial, is that until we have solid evidence of what happens further down the line if you take these puberty blockers, it's very difficult to give advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would say we should back up and say, what do we know about children who have distress about being male or female? And what we know historically is before puberty blockers were available, the vast majority of those children grew up. The cure for their distress was puberty. They went through puberty. They found out that they were young men or young women. In many cases, they were same-sex attracted. And being gender non-conforming as a child does correlate with growing up to be gay. So no one should be surprised that they feel that way and then they grow up to be gay. But when they're given puberty blockers, none of that happens. Instead, as you said, they lose sexual function, and that's because they almost without exception go on to cross-sex hormones. Now, there's another problem with this, which is that after the For Women Scotland judgment of the Supreme Court this spring, it's not lawful or legitimate to be giving children treatment to stop their puberty so that they can pass as the opposite sex when they grow up. And that was the original rationale for this treatment. But the law now says you are your birth sex, come what may. So these children and their parents are being given a false promise.
Well, Fiona, we've also heard from Dr. Hilary Catt, who says that she's really pleased this trial is going ahead. We're also told that intensive support will be offered, including regular health monitoring. Are there any reassurances you could be given, like those I've just mentioned, that this trial could safely be carried out?
Well, what we know for a fact is when you block children's puberty with these drugs, they don't go through puberty. You'd need a very good reason to do that to any child. You know, if someone has a life-threatening condition like a cancer that will kill them, then destroying their fertility and their puberty, their sexual function might be justifiable. But for these children, that's not the case. And the evidence historically is that's not the case. So it's hard to see any reason why this should go ahead.
And any way that you think that it could go ahead in some way?
Well, you know, one of the things Dr. Cass said is that she believes that some children, some young people, will have lifelong gender dysphoria and therefore would benefit from treatment to be able to pass as the other sex, or to feel that perhaps they pass as the other sex. But she also said that no one can tell which children that is. And there's still nothing here to say they have identified some reliable diagnostic tool to be able to spot which children. And since the vast majority of them would otherwise grow out of their distress, what they're going to do is damage the health of many, many children, perhaps for the sake of a tiny number who will benefit. And that's just back to front.
OK, Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McAnena, thank you very much for your time.